Welcome to UConn and Engineering's Lifelong Learning Program. I'm Dr. Van Hoof. I'm a faculty member in the School of Nursing and the School of Medicine here at UConn, and I'm part of a team of faculty and staff that's been planning Engineering's Lifelong Learning Program, or EL3P, for the past year. We're excited to offer this program to Engineering House freshmen, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about the program. Before I begin to tell you about the program, I'd like to describe a person for you. And as I give you hints, see if you can guess who this person is. This was a famous American businessman and engineer. He was born in the 1800s. Over the course of his career, he was responsible for nearly 1,100 patents in the United States and in multiple other countries. He founded 14 different companies, including General Electric. He was the first to establish an industrial research laboratory applying large-scale teamwork to the process of invention. He was later named the Wizard of Menlo Park. And as a final hint, his inventions included such things as the phonograph, the motion picture camera, and the electric light bulb. If you haven't guessed already, I'm describing for you Thomas Edison. Now, there's a few things you probably don't know about Thomas Edison, and I'll mention those to you. He took about 1,000 attempts before he invented the first practical electric light bulb. And each of those attempts were significant efforts. Secondly, he had only 3 months of formal education. He went to school at age 12 for a brief period. He started school late because he had scarlet fever as a child, as well as multiple infections involving his middle ear, and ultimately he had a hearing impairment. He started school at 12, but was sent home after a brief period of time, and his teacher described him as, quote, too stupid to learn anything, unquote. Fortunately, he had a mother who was an educator, and she taught him to learn and write, to read and write, and she also encouraged him tremendously early in life. Other things you might not know about Thomas Edison include that he was the youngest of 7 children. He was quite poor as a young adult. His first job was actually selling candies and newspapers on a train. He saved the life of a telegraph operator's son, 3-year-old son, who was running across the train tracks one day, and the telegraph operator, the station master, was so grateful to Thomas that apparently he actually trained Thomas to be a telegraph operator. And this was a huge event for Thomas because this gave him a job that allowed him to avidly read in his spare time as well as experiment. Now, many might say that Thomas Edison was a genius. And whether he was or was not, I don't know. But actually, it probably doesn't matter. What Thomas Edison shared with other famous inventors and scientists, as well as most successful people in life, was not so much that he was a genius, which may or may not have helped with a lot of the things, a lot of the marvelous things he did over his career, but he had other attributes that were probably more responsible. The thing that I think is most responsible for Thomas Edison's wonderful inventions, as well as a lot of the innovations that he began, was that Thomas Edison knew how to learn. He didn't have very much of a formal education, and he was primarily a self-educated person. Now, that's an important discovery, because one does not need to be, especially intelligent. It's nice to be passionate. It's important to work hard. But if you know how to learn, which is an acquired skill, something that everybody learns to some degree, but one can master if one applies oneself to that particular area. But If someone knows how to learn, they can do remarkable things in your career, in one's career. So we actually began engineering lifelong learning program as an attempt to prepare first-year freshmen in engineering to be much more successful in their studies early in college. So they'll do better in their courses and, most importantly, be prepared for a satisfying and productive career. So a little bit about engineering's lifelong learning program. There are multiple faculty and staff involved. Myself, also Dr. Dan Berkey, who's an associate professor in the School of Engineering, and he's also the Associate Dean of Undergraduate Education and Diversity. Mr. Brian Schwarz, who is Director of Advising in the School of Engineering. Ms. Velda Alfred Abney, who's a Program Assistant in Engineering's Diversity and Outreach Center. Mr. Kevin McLaughlin, who is the Director of Engineering's Diversity and Outreach Center. And Dr. Peter Diplock, who is a professor in the School of Business, as well as the Assistant Vice Provost in the Center of Excellence in Teaching and Learning here at UConn. Fortunately, we secured a grant from the Hubble Foundation to develop and offer this program to up to 100 engineering house freshmen. We want to pilot the program with this group over this 2-year period to understand how it best works. We believe it does work, but we want to understand how the educational program best works so that we can, in turn, generalize the findings to others and hopefully offer it across the science, technology, engineering, and math fields here at UConn. Because we are rigorously evaluating this program, it is a research study, and we have secured the Institutional Review Board, or IRB, approval to invite or recruit students to participate. Participation is an option, and if you're interested in participating, we would share with you the informed consent document, which describes the educational program, as well as the securities we have in place to protect your data and your identity. Now, just a few things about the program. During the fall, this fall 2015, the program will meet weekly for 1 hour on Sunday evenings, and we will, in those meetings, we'll discuss required readings, and you'll have a chance to meet faculty and engineering professionals. The readings that I mentioned will take about 1 hour of your time during the week. We'll ask you to read actively, and we'll describe, among many things, what that means. We'll talk about the science of learning over the course of the 2-year program. So many of you undoubtedly are anxious about being an engineering major and being in college in general. I want to assure you that you are capable of doing well in engineering. One of the reasons I say that without even knowing you is, first of all, you're here. Second of all, each of us has, on average, about 100 billion neurons in the brain, 100 followed by 9 zeros. That's a huge number. And as you know, neurons are thought to be responsible for thinking and emotions. And actually, what we're learning about neurons is not so much the neurons themselves, the individual cells that are responsible for learning and memory. It's actually the connections between these 100 billion neurons. And there's estimated to be some 150 trillion connections. 150 followed by 12 zeros. That's a lot of connections in the brain. But it's those connections that are responsible for learning and for remembering. So in this program, we want to teach you about how the brain works as a biological organ. We want to teach you and talk about how to study effectively based on how the brain works. And we want to help you prepare to be lifelong learners in your careers as professional engineers. So this is an opportunity that's available to you. If you're interested, you must sign up by the end of September. Once September ends, we unfortunately will not allow anyone else to join the program. We again want to study it carefully to understand how it best works. Beyond the fall semester, we'll continue to meet not as frequently as weekly, but you'll have many more opportunities to meet other professional engineers, and we will likely read and discuss additional books. But at this point, for this semester, it's a 2-hour per week commitment. You'll receive a copy of the book that will ask you to read. You keep that copy. We'll ask you to apply yourself. We'll ask you to attend the weekly sessions and to let us know what chapters you've read and what chapters you have not. But otherwise, it's an opportunity for you that we believe will complement your studies, and we'll share with you the findings of our evaluation of the program. So thank you very much for your interest and for your attention, and I look forward to working with you. Take care.